suppose I better get on with this here, you know. Time waits for no man and all that jazz. Know what I mean? Well, hello everybody and welcome into this Tuesday's Entertainment News. I am Jonathan, here to discuss the latest happenings in the world of Hollywood and indeed film in general, the health of film, the health of big blockbuster films and just grotesquely inflated budgets within the film industry in general. That's what I'm going to be discussing primarily here. I've got a couple of other topics flung in for good measure, which intrigue me. I don't know if will intrigue a potential viewer coming in to watch the show, to watch the stream. I need to get out of that mentality of calling it a show. It's a stream. But yeah, if you've clicked on it on YouTube, I'm asking the question, are studios killing their profits with insane budgets for films? Just insanely inflated budgets, which are, in a sense, rendering movies dead in arrival. You can't possibly make a profit off of a movie if you're spending $250 million in the budget and an additional 100, sometimes more, million on promotion. There's just not enough intrigue, bums on seats in movie theatres post-COVID for a film to make a gargantuan profit, unless of course you capture the zeitgeist with the whole Barbenheimer thing, in which case you've got two movies doing unbelievable business. But I'm just really going to get into it and try and address where it's at, in my mind anyway, why this is happening. What is the state of play moving forward? How can these studios address this? Because certainly Bob Iger in the earnings call for Disney recently came out and did address the underwhelming performances. In his mind, it's just about creating the best possible film, but also cleaning up the business, the operation, and making sure they're running as tightly and efficiently as humanly possible. And then from that, obviously, will come the necessary success. And if that means cutting off the sort of traditional TV network side of the business, if that means bumping up prices of streaming services to give the best content available on that platform, on that medium, so be it. But yeah, man, it's coming from MovieWeb. This is going to be painful because the camera's going to be off. Kilter. Wait for it. And the capture has not been done. But needless to say, it's there now. Why are studios giving their films astronomical budgets? It's really stemmed from this, truth be told. This Variety article, where in a sense you've got two massive films, 2023. And look, I have to stress, this isn't something new. I remember covering film news 2-3 years ago, and there was questionings and musings regarding the success of tentpole releases in the summer slate, if you like. This is something that we've seen over the last few years. There is always casualties in that summer release slate. Big blockbuster movies that you think are destined for success, big money, and they just underwhelm. And people, for whatever reason, don't go and see them. And maybe there's some unexpected release. In this case, Barbie. I'm just going to come out and say it. No one in their granny or their aunt would have ever have dreamt that that Barbie movie would be having the kind of success it's having, not just critically, but box office wise as well. You've seen the initial photographs coming out of Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie in bright fluorescent pinks and luminous screens, on roller skates, on a beach sort of sidewalk. No one looking at those images would have thought that's $1 billion plus movie. So you've always got movies like that come out of nowhere and surprise, and then the casualties are, in this case, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I think it's the name of the movie, I'm pretty damn sure it is. Dead Reckoning, Part 1. That are just struggling at the box office just now, and by all accounts, in line, both of them, to lose $100 million. Not just breaking even, a loss of $100 million. Now, with Mission Impossible, I think there's still enough meat in the bones, legs potentially at the box office for it to break even. It may return its expenditure as a minimum. And look, you can make excuses for that movie. That's a movie that was pushed back, production delays, COVID had hit it hard, and the budget's obviously spiralled as a consequence. Every time you go and market a movie, it costs money. You have to then go and remarket the movie with a new date. You have to go and remarket the movie again. We've seen this with Christopher Nolan's Tenet. In the sort of onset of the COVID pandemic, 3 times it was pushed back, 3 different dates. The studio had to promote the movie 3 separate times. That eats into the budget. That eats into the promotional budget. And it increases that bar that a movie has to hit to make a profit. So we can almost let Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning off the hook. Whether Paramount's going to want to let it off the hook, I can't envisage a world where Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie don't make a second part to Dead Reckoning. I just can't see how that doesn't happen. This will be a painful hit for Tom if the movie doesn't at least break even. And I just can't understand why more people aren't going and watching the movie. And look, I'm saying that as a complete hypocrite because I've still not seen the fucking movie. But come to think of it, I think outside of Mission Impossible Fallout, I don't know if I've ever seen a Mission Impossible movie in the theatres before that. So I'm not really the core demographic I'm not massively into big blockbuster action movies. It's not really my vibe. But clearly it is for a lot of people because that Fallout movie done incredible business. But yeah, man, as you can see here, Indy 5, which opened in late June, and this is another whole shenanigan. Kathleen Kennedy's fingerprints all over it. She's a very contentious figure as president of Lucasfilm. Huge array of Disney sort of umbrella fandom, I'm going to call it, because it's the umbrella company's Lucasfilm, Star Wars brand, within the umbrella, if you'd like. Indiana Jones. A lot of the fan base have got a right Harry hard on for Kathleen Kennedy. And obviously with her being a producer, as she's been on previous Indiana movies, this movie was up against it right off the bat with certain sections of fandom. You've then got the notion of women-splaining happening in the movie with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. People, and we had it with Shia LaBeouf, incidentally, mansplaining, young mansplaining if you like. Harrison Ford's older, the character's not as nimble as it once was. You need younger legs to come in and fill in these sort of action scenes for him, or just you use copious amounts of CG, which I think they've done in this movie, but I'll get into that. But yeah, man, you've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge coming in a sense, but, and again, I've not seen this movie, I was put off with the reviews, in a sense, maybe filling in those gaps that Harrison could have did 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Word of mouth's fucking everything with films. If people were praising it to high heavens, it spreads like a virus, and you then see success at the box office as a result. Equally though, if the word of mouth's poor, it's dead on arrival, man. And this is what's happened with Indiana. It grossed $375 million. I have to stress, $375 million 6 weeks after its release isn't bad numbers, but again, man, it's a $200 million budget, $100 million promotional budget. It's fucking $600 million to break even. You're setting unrealistic bars for these movies, and that gets back to the crux of the previous question, the actual question of this show. Are studios hamstringing themselves before a ball is even kicked? And the answer can simply be, and can only be, yes, they are. They cannot possibly succeed. They have to find a way, have to do a roots and branch sort of investigation of their processes across the board making films, the investment, the post-production, production, pre-production, storyboarding, CGI. Can you use practical effects instead of expensive CGI? Christopher Nolan's come out and spoke about this with Tenet, previous movies, with Oppenheimer. It's actually cheaper to do on-set practical work than it is filling it in with CGI. Maybe studios have to look into that, how they are making movies, get back to basics. The amount of money they're spending on fucking, I don't know, man, just everything, promotion. Just get back to basics. Make cheaper movies. Make movies more efficiently. Blumhouse can do it. A24 can do it. And they make money. Hell, whoever's responsible for Barbie can do it. That was a low budget movie by all accounts. It's grossed over $1 billion. It doesn't matter what the budget is. When you gross over $1 billion, you're cooking. So they're going to have to look into it. I don't know where, and I'm not educated enough to assess this and give any coherent answers. I'm just a film fan discussing something that's pertinent because we've got two big flops, and indeed in 2023, and indeed you go back to 2022, Walt Disney, nearly $200 million loss. Amsterdam, why was this movie so expensive? $80 million to craft a drama movie. Why is that so expensive? It made $108 million loss. Lightyear, $106 million loss. Devotion, $90 million loss. Morbius isn't on this list. It had a fairly modest budget, $75 million. Made a huge loss. It's obviously still $20-30 million too much for that movie. Babylon made a loss. A lot of movies making losses, man. The exhibitors are in bad position just now. You've seen it with AMC announcing they may go out of business. Not as many people are going back to watch movies in theatres as they did prior to the COVID pandemic. I don't know if this is just a general malaise, if it's actually they've got used to seeing these movies come to home release quicker. The truncated sort of experience between the theatre and the home. They're just seeing it out and waiting. I know for me, with the Marvel stuff, I'm certainly doing that. I didn't go and see Guardians. I didn't go and see any other Marvel movies in 2023 in the theatres. And I know they're going to come on Disney Plus sooner rather than later. That's eating into the profits. And you have to really count that into your budgeting, or you're just going to keep making fucking losses. The studios are going to have to downscale. The actual big blockbuster popcorn flick movies like your Marvel stuff, like your DC, Flash made a loss. They're going to have to rethink. They're going to have to, start doing what no one does. Is that going to hamper the experience of going and seeing it on a big IMAX screen? I don't know if it will, man, because Oppenheimer's doing it and it's doing it well. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is. But yes, they are hampering themselves. They're nuking their chances of success before it even hits a theatre with these astronomical budgets, as you can see here. Now, I've not even read this article. Again, I just brought this up as a sort of backdrop. Fast and Furious lost money, man. That's another one that lost huge amounts of money. $340 million budget for a Fast and Furious movie. It's fucking insane. It's insane. $100 million plus $440 million all in on Fast. What is that, 10? You need to make $700 million to break even. It's fucking insanity, man. The movie cannot possibly succeed. It cannot. Even if it makes $1 billion, it's not enough of a profit to justify that expenditure on a pretty average movie. Fast 9, $225 million. Only grossed $700 million. Barely probably scraped a profit. They're just getting more expensive. I understand you've got the whole cost of living thing. The price of everything's going up. That's reality. That's something that's relatable to the small man in the street, the $1 trillion companies. Everything is costing more money. And that obviously impacts your ability to make things cheaper. So I understand they've got their trials and tribulations, but they really do have to assess these budgets, man. The budgets are way too high, and it's hampering the ability for profit. And ultimately that is going to hamper not just the film-going fan, the film watch, is that right? The theatre-going film fan. But it's going to hamper the theatres. It's going to hamper the filmmakers. So there has to be a lot of internal assessments happening at these studios. Maybe they can learn a thing from Blumhouse. Maybe they can learn a thing from A24. Learn a thing from these indie sort of studios who are producing excellence on a shoestring budget and making huge amounts of money. I don't know. Assess yourself. What is it you've got to... I can't remember. John Lennon's song where he was taking the piss out of Serve Yourself. Bob Dylan. Got to serve yourself. Ain't nobody going to do it for you. Topic 2. Aaron Taylor-Johnson. I've not spoken about James Bond and I want to say about 4 months. So I thought, it's Aaron. Love Aaron Taylor. I love Aaron Johnson. That was never his name, Aaron Taylor. That was his wife's name. He took his wife's name. It's commendable. It's not really a done thing. He's shaking up the sort of the expectations of society where the woman usually gives up her maiden name and takes on the name of her husband. Aaron being forever the sort of chivalrous male has took his wife's name on. But I digress. I love Aaron Johnson. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, brilliant actor. Been watching this guy since Nowhere Boy, Kick-Ass, well over a decade. And he's been responding to rumours about James Bond. And I just used this as an excuse to once again go in and check what the odds are on the next James Bond. It actually blows my mind slightly that we haven't yet heard any news or developments on James Bond and where they're going next. I know they will want to inevitably leave a bit of a gap between No Time to Die and a new era of storytelling, a new James Bond. But I'm surprised we've not got some inkling of white smoke yet. You can announce the Bond, announce the director after that, and just get into production 2 years from now, and the movie doesn't come out for nigh on 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. Now's the time to be doing it. And obviously, the longer you take, the older these actors are getting, ultimately. And you're kind of throwing away some brilliant potential Bond actors. Sort of windows for portraying the character. I digress, going to go here. Your man there. Some man, always looking dapper. Doesn't matter what he wears. Sports a little, I'm going to call it Heinrich Himmler glasses, but it's more probably like a British establishment sort of gentleman walking about the upper echelons of Westminster back in the late, 19th, 20th century. It's kind of that vibe he's got going on there. But what I digress, man, he's been out, he's been speaking about it. I think it was, Craven the Hunter done an interview with Esquire. They obviously pressed him for his thoughts on the rumours of him potentially replacing Daniel Craig as 007. And he simply said, it's not really for me to say anything. He went on to further embellish and says, I've spent 2 years making Craven. So all that hard work we put into trying to get that to where it is, that's where I'm at right now. Really looking forward to that Craven movie, incidentally. That's got the potential to really bring out a Spider-Man collaboration in that Sony villain universe. We've kind of thought Venom was going to happen, and part of me thinks it may still, because obviously appeared in No Way Home at the end. It's losing momentum, man, and this is a big sort of nemesis villain for Peter Parker Spider-Man. We could see the first jumping between universes, cinematic universes, if I can get my teeth in, for Tom Holland. If in fact Tom's coming back. So I'm looking forward to Craven, but look, that's not what I'm here to discuss. That's where I'm at right now. I just focus on the things I can have in my hands right now. What's in front of me right now. So that was his addressing of the Bond rumours. It's clear he's interested in it. He doesn't want to jinx it. I think most youngish British actors are going to, if they've got anything about them, they're going to want to play James Bond if it's offered to them. It's an iconic franchise. They have modernised in the last 15 years or so. It's not what it was back in the day with Connery and guys like that, where he was a womaniser. He was a bit of a prick. It was a bit chauvinistic. It was a bit borderline misogynistic, the way they treated women in the movies. And it was just a bit stuffy. I know it was faithful to the actual books, but when you've got Bourne coming out and doing what it's doing, and you've got other big franchises like Mission Impossible raising the bar again and again for action movies, you have to modernise, get with the times. And to be fair to Bond, it has certainly done that under the tutelage of Daniel Craig. And this is the next sort of step. You go into another younger generation and you just continue on with that story. I'm not saying you have to fucking neuter 007. He becomes a sort of a cuck, for lack of a better word. And he doesn't do anything. He's still the man with the plan, the man with the gun, Secret Service agent, and he likes the women. That's part of the character. But it can be addressed a little bit better. That aside, we've got an incredible fucking list here. An incredible list of potential Bond actors, thespians if you'd like, coming in from Esquire, no less. Now the list is very long, and I'm not going to go through the entire list, but I'm going to pick out some of them. And right off the bat, I can tell you right now, Lysana Lynch is not going to be the next James Bond. You want me to tell you how I know that? Because Barbara Broccoli, who is one of the main producers, if not the top dog at MGM, I know that was bought out by Amazon, I think as an institution, as an actual entity, it still exists. She says there's not going to be a female James Bond. It's not going to happen. That doesn't mean you can't have a spin-off fucking franchise within the Bond universe where you have another 00 number and Lysana can play that sort of super secret agent kind of character, but she's not going to be 007. She's not going to be James Bond. It's not going to happen. As you can see here, Barbara Broccoli. It's not going to be a woman. How can it be? His name's James Bond. So we can score that one off the list. That's not going to happen. Paul Mescal, this is the man of the moment. Oscar nominated for Aftersun, I believe it was. Good Irish lad. 27, he's young. Gregarious, getting better by the minute. He's got the height. He's got the charisma. The women love him. Everyone loves him. Brilliant actor. And as you can see, he can wear a suit. So he It's certainly a possibility. I don't actually know. I mean, I know Pierce Brosnan was Irish, so I kind of do know there is a precedent. We can have an Irish James Bond. I think he's a good enough actor. If he can do a Glaswegian Scottish accent, and after CINE he can certainly do a sort of no frills British received pronunciation accent with a fucking tuxedo on and do James Bond. Get every chance of being the next Bond, man. He's certainly got momentum. It's really down to the individual. As I says, most British-ish young actors who have got anything about them will have an interest in this, but some may not, because it is a commitment. Just like taking on a big Marvel character is a commitment. You are committing a good 10 years of your career to this character. You can go off and navigate other stories between them, but again, you're committing a huge chunk of your career to this character, and some may be put off by that. Robert Arami, I can't see his name, Aramayo, not for me. I know he played Elrond in Rings of Power, the Amazon Lord of the Rings show, and he was good in that, man, to be fair. He gave me Hugo Weaving vibes with better hair. He's just not got the look for James Bond for me, I'm sorry. I don't want to be harsh on the guy. I'm not saying he's ugly or anything, but he's not James Bond, is he? He's not. Just look at him. He's not James Bond. Sam Claflin, I think he's getting a bit old now, Sam. Sam's knocking in his 40s now, isn't he? He's a great actor, and we've seen him playing that sort of refined English gentleman in Peaky Blinders, and indeed in Their Finest and other movies he's been in. He's a brilliant actor. He's got the look down. Hair's a little bit weak, but we could live with that. A little bit old now, though. I can't see Sam getting the gig. Don't know who this guy is. I'm not going to lie. I don't know who the fuck he is. I can't even sit here and lie. Euphoria, I've never seen Euphoria. But as you can see, man, just from a purely aesthetic basis, rocks a suit, strong head of hair, got the whole tall, dark and handsome vibe going on, so see no reason if he can act why he wouldn't be involved in a potential Bond shortlist. Theo James, I'm just going to skip by him. I just don't see him as James Bond on any level. Curly hair, nope. Liam Hemsworth, can't see it. Nope. Not going to be Andrew Garfield. Certainly not going to be Will Poulter. If Aramayo, your man that played Elrond, doesn't look like James Bond, Will Poulter's fucking amazing, man. I've seen this guy since I've been watching this geezer since Wild Bill, I believe it was 2010 or something, 11. He's a brilliant actor, man. He's a cool cat, but he's not James Bond, man. He's not got the looks. There's a look for James Bond. Now listen, I don't give a fuck what your ethnicity is. I don't care about all that shit. There's just a look, there's a vibe. And we'll get into that as we go down this list. Because there's some actors who aren't Casper White on this list, but they've got the vibe to play James Bond. He's just not got the look for me, I'm sorry. But then I'd have said that for Adam Warlock, and he played him. I had my heart set on Zac Efron, but it didn't happen. Chiwetel, fucking love this guy, he's an incredible actor. He's a little bit old now though, isn't he, man? I can't really say that without maybe Googling his age and finding out exactly how old he actually is. But I want to say he is getting on in years. If I can search his name up, it's incredibly difficult for a Scottish guy to search that name. He's 46. By the time pre-production they get a director, man's knocking on 50. It's too old, which is a shame. And it's the same for Idris Elba, incidentally, who, again, Daniel never really felt like he had a real love affair with James Bond. Over the years he felt like he was always slightly unhappy in the character, but yet he continued doing it, so he kind of fucked off the guys like Idris Elba who perhaps would have loved to have played the character, but we're getting older and older and older as he clung on to sort of the role, if you'd like. Just spoke about Aaron Taylor-Johnson. What can you say about this guy? I think he's mid-30s, he's still a good age, he's got that rugged vibe to him. Strong hairline, wears a suit, brilliant actor, charismatic as hell, got real good range, and he's got that sort of lived-in experience. This is something I think it's necessary to play James Bond. There was a lot of talk of Tom Holland playing the character, but he's too fucking young, man. He's 25, 26. That's a guy that doesn't give off vibes of having lived life, having life experiences. I'm not saying he hasn't, he clearly has, but he looks too young. You can't have a baby-faced James Bond, you just can't. This is a guy who's been around the block, who knows what he's doing, and and he's got that ruggedness. And Aaron Taylor-Johnson certainly got that ruggedness. I think he'd be a brilliant James Bond. I'd love to see the guy playing it. Absolutely fucking not. I don't know much about Sophie, but I love the name. There's way too many dots in there. But again, man, you look at the raw physicality. I see no reason why you couldn't rock a fucking suit. I don't know much about his acting, I can't lie. Again, possibility. I'm not going to comment on people I don't really know a huge amount about, so I'm going to skip off. No, Nicolas, no. Not for me. This guy is giving me the vibes of James Bond. That's what I'm talking about, man. You've got the likes of Henry Cavill, Sam Heughan. They're the sort of more traditional ones you would probably be attracted to. Big Scottish, fucking hunky Scottish guy. Like 15 stone Henry. But man, if you're going to go down this different vibe and go for a black James Bond, then you need to give the guy a long time with the character. And this guy looks very fucking young. He's got an incredibly cool name, incidentally. He's rocking the suit incredibly well. He's got that. He maybe looks a little bit young, but I mean, again, it's going to be 3-4 years. Listen, I'm getting for it. Miles Teller, not for me. Doesn't look like James Bond to me. Not for me. He's not got the vibe. Definitely not. Nope. Too fucking old. No, he's no. Idris. I've been championing Idris for fucking years, but he's too old now, man. And it pains me to say it. Look, we could maybe get a 1 or 2 movie deal and get Idris in to perform as Bond for 1 or 2 movies, and I'd be game to see that, man. I've been willing this guy to play the character for years. He's everything I just addressed in Bond for me. Wears a suit well, got a ruggedness, raw physicality, incredible actor, charismatic, passionate about the character, wants to play it. I just think time's moved on for Idris, and it's sadly not going to be. And it's a fucking shame. Luke Evans. This is another guy, man. It's a strong favourite for me, Regé-Jean Page. I'm not going to go through the whole fucking list. I says I wasn't going to do it, and I'm kind of doing it because it's like crack to me when I start reading these actors' names and thinking of what could be. I just end up getting down a rabbit hole with it. Regé-Jean Page, Aaron Taylor-Johnson for me, maybe Sam Heughan, that other geezer, Adamson Idris, I think his name was, and maybe, yeah, if we could get like a fucking 2-film Bond, if that's the vibe that we're going for, maybe Idris. But for me, I'd like to see them shake up and do something different. If you're not going to go for the sort of usual Irish, Scottish, posh fucking white English gentleman vibe, why not go for a sort of black, posh English gentleman vibe and shake it up just for the sheer chaos it would deliver to those backward motherfuckers who, you know, go after female Doctor Who's when they're announced. Just rub them up the wrong way, man. I want to see, I'm a chaotic person. I'm an anarchist. I want to see things getting challenged. And look, Regé-Jean Page is a fucking incredible actor, so make it so number 1 for me. That's what I'm saying. Aaron or Reggie for me. No longer Tom Hardy. Yeah, I don't even want to speak about Tom Hardy. Make it so number 1. I'm going to move into topic number 3. Star Trek. Star Trek. Can you tell it's been enormously difficult for me to find news topics today that don't relate to Barbie? Star Trek. Look, I'm saying that I love I grew up with Star Trek, man. Grandfather got me hooked on the original series. I was a regular viewer of The Next Generation back in the 90s when I was a little kid. I love it. It was my first love in terms of sci-fi stories. What wasn't Star Wars, I found that in the mid-90s. I was about 5 or 6. Star Trek was my first real sci-fi love, and absolutely love Bones McCoy, Spock, James Tiberius Kirk, Uhura, all these incredible characters you had in that original show, and then just the blending of Picard and was it Riker? God, what was he called again? The number 1. Shocking, I'm blanking in his name. Wolf, Data, Geordi. The sort of combining of those worlds in those early 90s movies. It was something I was obsessed with, and for whatever reason I kind of departed. Then of course we got the J.J. Abrams reboots in the early 2010s, I want to say, and we had a whole new cast, and it was a sort of split in the universe, and it was a different alternate universe we were getting. Alternate versions of Spock, of Kirk, of Bones McCoy, even Scotty. And obviously you had Simon Peck, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, the late great Anton Yelchin, Carl Lubden, Zoe Saldana coming in and portraying different takes, but familiar takes of the classic characters. I fucking loved these films, man. They were different to the originals. They weren't as deep, dense and sort of complex with the mythology and the world building. They had like 30, 40 years to do with the other stories, TV shows. But I still enjoyed them. I loved the modern vibe. It was multi-demographic. And for whatever reason, man, we get 3 movies and it's just seemed to have stalled. I know we lost Anton. He was the same age as me. I think it was about 7, 8 years ago, I think Anton passed. And also that's a huge gap. When you're dealing with this close-knit crew, it's really hard to recast a character like that when we've experienced 3 movies with him. So I can almost understand where Paramount are coming from. And it is Paramount, I'm sure, that did those movies. How do you address that sort of void? And we've never seemed to have got over this sort of pre-production purgatory. And for whatever reason, we've not had another movie. These actors are getting older. And now we've got Zachary Quinto coming out and talking about passing the mantle of Leonard Nimoy's Spock over to, I want to say the name is Ethan Peck. Now look, this is another thing I've been getting really intrigued by this TV show. And I actually had it up there. I'm going to bring it up again. I had this show up. Strange New Worlds. I am fucking intrigued by this show, man. I have to say. I've been hearing good things about this. There's a thread on a forum I actually frequent. Nearly broke my phone. Shit. And the table with it. I nearly gave my dog a heart attack too. So that was a trifecta of fuck-ups. I have to say, man, I'm intrigued by it. I'm thinking I'm going to get into this and start watching this show. And look, Ethan Peck, man, he looks the absolute fucking spit of Leonard Nimoy, perhaps even more than Zachary Quinto. And like I says, I mean, look at this. This guy's unreal. That's scary. He's even got the sort of Arsene Wenger laughter lines. He really does look like him. Now, I don't know enough about this Strange New Worlds show. I don't know if it's maybe a continuation of this cinematic universe that was rebooted by J.J. Abrams. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it resides in a sort of purgatory. It's an in-between vibe. Because obviously he's not Leonard Nimoy. And he's certainly not Zachary Quinto. But I'm intrigued by this show. And now we've got Zachary coming out. And yeah, speaking about where he's at with the character, he's certainly not saying no to coming back at some point. But I just feel like the annals of time are starting to just wave goodbye to Zachary and his sort of time as Spock. It's a fucking shame because he was great as a character. I really enjoyed him. But he said this, a Q&A portion of SDLV. I just want to say before we finish up how grateful I feel to be here. And how I feel like my experience in this world it's evolved into other iterations and other forms. And to be able to share the stage with the person who I am now passing the mantle to. In a lot of ways, who's engaging you all in these stories from the perspective of this character now into the future. It's really exciting. It's really gratifying. He goes on to say, I was so fortunate because of Leonard's involvement in the process, and the one thing I never could have anticipated was how instrumental he would become in my life personally. It's funny that, because he really is. He's got that vibe, Leonard, where he's a multi-generational figure, and he touches everybody in a certain way. You watch the movies, he was a director, of course, as well. Really powerful figure, and he really does leave an imprint. He's just got that vibe, man. I think of him, I think of my grandfather, who's sadly no longer with us. He leaves that imprint in people who are fans of the films, of the show, in their life. And I've read stories about people becoming doctors, getting into sciences because of this guy, which is some fucking legacy. It really is, man, for Leonard. And here he is, he's obviously had a real impact on Zachary as well. But from a creative standpoint and from a professional standpoint, having that relationship and that introduction to this world helped me understand the character. I think it also helped audiences accept me as this new version of the character, and for that I was so eternally grateful. As I says, I just feel like we've not had enough time in this character, man. We've had 3, I think, 2 excellent movies and 1 middling movie. Maybe not excellent, but good movies. And we've just not had enough time with the characters. Even Carl Urban as Bones McCoy, I think he nailed the mannerisms of DeForest Kelly. And obviously Chris Pine done a fantastic job of doing an alternate take on the Shat's Tiberius Kirk. It's just a shame we've not had more time with the characters in more movies, because I really have enjoyed them. And it's, for whatever reason, it's not got off the fucking ground. Future iterations continued. I think this was the second last thing he says. Very long with quotes, but you can tell he's passionate about the character, so we'll let him away with it. But it was really that friendship with Leonard that became one of my greatest gifts. I would say the greatest of playing this role of Spock in the Star Trek universe has been the friendships that have come out of it. My brotherhood with Chris and my relationship with Leonard and his family and with the whole cast. I think there's a lot of other stuff, creative things. It's complicated. The fact that anything good gets made is kind of a miracle. I think it's about different people having different agendas and ideas about what it will be. And I don't know if and when it will happen. And if it coalesces again, we come back and we're able to do it, wonderful. If not, we had a great run. And like, that's fine, man. You can't really, oh shit, what have I done? That's fine. You can't really speak higher than that of his time portraying the character, of his experiences on the movies, working with Simon Pegg, working with J.J. Abrams, working with the late great Leonard Nimoy, and passing the baton on to another iteration of a character indeed. He's had his run, and if, look, it's not, it beats a trilogy of movies, which is always kind of perfect in a strange sort of way. But again, man, it's much like Henry Cavill with Superman for me. It just feels like a missed opportunity. You've had these actors in their prime years, and sort of, yeah, what's the red tape and sort of political warfare in the executive realms of a studio have allowed that to disappear down the Swanee, as we like to call it here, and for these actors not to get a chance to come back and portray it. But look, man, if one good thing's come out of it is that I have discovered this Strange New Worlds TV show, and it may be something that will reignite my love for Star Trek once again, because look, I certainly love Patrick Stewart, and I love the Shat, and I've had some brilliant experiences watching this with my father, incidentally, back in the day in the 90s, and my grandfather, original and Next Generation. So yeah, I'm going to watch that show, and I'm going to look out for Ethan Peck. But I'm moving on to the final topic. Nick Cage. Nick, mother chodding Cage. Wow. I'm just going to bring this image up. This will let it speak for itself, in a sense. Look at that right there, man. Loser behind him on the car. Just look at Nick Cage here, man. Completely unrecognisable. And there's something about Nick. I'm just going to go off a brief tangent here. There's something about Nick Cage. He's given me Bruce Willis, John Travolta vibe. Not Bruce Willis, that's terrible. Bruce never tried to kid on he had hair. His hair gradually went and he shaved it in and he rocked it. That's disgraceful. I take that back immediately. John Travolta, for a long, long time, was kicking about with god-awful wigs on, man. And it was so clearly wig. Laces and wigs and or hairpieces, whatever you want to call it. Same thing, isn't it? For so long, too long, some might say, and I'm saying it, too long, he was kicking about with these horrendous wigs. Getting back to Star Trek briefly, the Shat as well, it still blows my mind. William Shatner wore a wig on the set of Star Trek. When I first heard that revelation, it shook me. Shook me to my core. It just didn't register that was a wig. It was way too good. It couldn't have been a wig. But then you look at the sort of TJ, I think Booker or something, I can't remember the show, the 80s stuff, and suddenly he's developed curly hair. A fucking perm. And then some of the short carpets he's had on his head. Look, I'm willing to let that slide with William Shatner because he's one of the greatest human beings to ever live. So I'll let it slide for William. But John Travolta, where am I going with this? Nick Cage has been clinging on to that hairline for too fucking long. As someone who's lost their hair, I've still got it, but it's walking off into the sunset. Follicular sunset. I can sense when someone's clinging on to their hair, man. Nick Cage has got a very high hair, and look, he had a fucking wondrous head of hair back in the day. Let's not beat about the bush. It was one of his USPs, unique selling points. Truly tremendous head of hair. Also, the sort of male pattern baldness is gotten by the short and curlies, and it's wreaked chaos, but he's clung on to that hairline for a very, very long time. Much like Chris Nolan, I don't know what the secret is. Ivan Rakitic is another one, football player. He had a similar hairline to me 10 years ago. That motherfucker has still got his hair. What's going on? How are they doing it? What am I getting at? He shaved his head in, or he's wearing a bald cap. I think this is what Nick Cage is secretly like in real life. I think he's having his on. And the grey beard. Well, I digress, that's a long-winded tangent. Dream scenario. It gets a fall, or an autumn release date, as we call it over here. It's going to hit theatres November 10th. Why am I speaking about this? Well, it's Nick Cage. Huge fan of Nick. I've championed this guy when people were turning him into a meme. It's an Oscar-winning actor. A real knowledgeable man when it comes to film. He's off of Hollywood royalty. He's a Coppola. And look, he's had a bit of a renaissance in the last 5, 6, 7 years, 4, 5 years. We'll not go too far back. He's been low-key delivering some wondrous performances and some sleeper hits and some out-and-out hits, let's be honest. And I'm so happy for the guy. He's a brilliant actor. I'm glad to see him not just churning out 50 movies a year for himself. He's actually coming back in to the grander stage and delivering some big performances that are catching the eyeballs of some prominent people and some non-prominent people like me. And here he is, man. He's working with Christopher Bogley and indeed Ari Aster is producing this dark comedy potential. I've read something about potential horror vibes. I don't know if that is the case. Certainly dark comedy though for A24. And this just is a match made in heaven, man. We know Nick has got quite an intriguing, eccentric sense of humour. And we know that he's able to deliver unbelievable performances if you just let the cat out of the bag, let hell unleash, open up Pandora's box and just let him act his arse off, or his ass off, as some might say. You know you're going to get a performance from this guy. You know what he's capable of. And you match him with Christopher Bogley, you match him with Ari Aster in A24. I just can't see anything other than magic coming here. And I spoke about it at the start of the show. Big blockbuster movies, these big studios, traditional film studios, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Disney, they just cannot, Universal, for whatever reason, they cannot produce interesting stories sub $100 million. And they're up against it right off the sort of bat. They can't really even break even, let alone make a profit in these movies. They're toiling. I'm not saying it's impossible. Some movies are breaking through and making profits. Universal had it with Oppenheimer. But you've got companies like A24 and Blumhouse who consistently churn out these low-budget, brilliant little stories with brilliant actors. And they make money, man. And this just screams of that again. You've got an interesting director. Look at the cast. Nick Cage, Julianne Nicholson, Michael Cera. It's a brilliant little cast. Dylan Baker's in there. I love Dylan in there. He played a psychopath in a movie. Pretty sure he did. I can't remember the name of the movie, but he played a right little psycho. He's a brilliant actor, man. Brilliant. I really enjoyed him in that film. So the cast is there. Producers there. Directors there. As you can see here, the story's there. It's a really interesting story. And not only that, man, it's the vibe. It's that undercurrent. It's that duality that all great movies have. You've got a superficial, fun story that you can experience with popcorn if you want. But if you want to go deep and look for it, there is symbolism. There's societal ills being explored in the movie. As you can see, here's a brief little synopsis, I believe. Details regarding Bogley's new dark comedy have been quiet. It is known that the up-and-coming film will follow Paul Matthews, played by Cage, a family man whose life dramatically changes after millions of people begin seeing him in their dreams. But things end up taking a turn for the worst after those dreams start to become nightmares. Now, I since went down a rabbit hole and searched this up, and I did get an alternative, I think it was an alternative sort of synopsis. Yeah, I mean, it was, every person's on Earth's dreams. But there was another one hinted that it could be looking at how social media warps and shapes reality. And I've seen this done in the Indian TV show Class. It's a really interesting thing to get into. It's something that's at the forefront of humanity just now. AI, algorithms, using social media to mine for fucking just the language and get better and better and better. Just to toxic nature of social media, how it does shape and what people's realities, and it can really set the agenda for news stories and everything. What the fuck is that? It's just come up on my PC. It's an AMD auto update. AMD, kindly go and take 2 fucks to yourself. I'm doing a stream here. When I'm done, you can update, bitch. Yeah, as it says, man, it's A24, and you know you're going to get a brilliant core story, and you know you're going to have it laced with really interesting, sort of, yeah, deep, subjective. Is subjective the right word? I don't think it is. Deep, thought-provoking explorations of societal ills and just the human condition. You know it's going to go deep. Really looking forward to it, man. I always keep my eye out for a new A24 movies. Bo is afraid is obviously the last Ari Aster one he did with A24. We've seen the likes of A Lighthouse in recent years. There's been so many brilliant A24 movies come out. Northman with Robert Eggers, I think that was A24. They just consistently produce excellence. And that's something that's to be fucking applauded in modern day filmmaking and cinema, where there is a sea of utter shit floating about. There's lots of floaters. But wait, man, looking forward to it. It comes out the next 3 months or something like that. In November it comes out. It's Nick Cage. It's A24. You know it's going to be special, man. I'm done though. What is your thoughts on the topics I touched upon on the show tonight? What do you make about movie budgets and film studios? Are they hamstringing themselves from the get-go by setting unrealistic expectations for movies, by giving said movies astronomical budgets, $200 million to make the movie, another $100 million selling the movie to the general public? They have to make another $500-600 million just to break even. They'll have to be knocking on $1 billion to give it a decent profit for the studio. Is that hamstringing the movies? Is it hamstringing the actual studios themselves? Are they setting themselves up for a fail in a sense? Where do they go moving forward? Do we become known sort of devotees? I'm already there. I'm a disciple of Nolan. Do we stop filling movies with all this shit? Fucking CGI, green screen nonsense. Do we get back to basics and do brilliant practical effects that are cheaper and more palpable and enrich the actual performances of the actors because they're interacting with things on the set instead of fucking green balls that don't exist? What's your thoughts, Nick? Share your thoughts down below about that. Share your thoughts down below about Aaron Taylor Johnson coming out and addressing Bond rumours. Who do you want to see being the next James Bond? Do you agree with me that it should either be like an Aaron Taylor Johnson or a Jean-Reggie Page, or maybe even something a little bit off kilter, man? I want to see them shaking it up. We've had enough fucking white, pale-faced Bonds. It's time for a change. It's time for something different. I'm all aboard the different train. Let's do something different. Shake this fucking franchise up for the better. Share your thoughts down below about that. Share your thoughts down below about Star Trek. Zachary Quinto passing the mantle of Leonard, Nimoy, Spock over to Ethan Peck. Strange New World, Star Trek. Share your thoughts about that. Nick Cage, dream scenarios. Anything you feel compelled to share can go down below in the comment section. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs. All that's left to be said. Twitch as well. Follow button, notifications button over and Twitch to see us doing the exact same thing. In this case, me doing the exact same thing on a different platform. All that's left to be said is thank you for watching. Till next time, I'm done. Bye-bye.